Did Nestor Cortez torpedo your ratios? How about Bailey Ober? What if you had both? We'll talk about that and more on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with Fred Zinkie. And Fred is the proud owner of both Nestor Cortez and Bailey Ober in the Tout Wars Draft and Hold League. Sorry, Fred, bringing that up. We'll just throw that out there. But it's related to our topic that you may have gotten torpedoed a little bit today or this weekend over that. I did too. I have a Ober in a lot of places, but it also ties into the story that we can't quite get enough of just yet. We'll get sick of it by the end of the week, but that's the new Torpedo Bats. For the first time in a while, we're kind of having an advancement on the hitter side that's kind of throwing some people up for a loop here.
Yeah, actually, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, we've seen, the pitchers come up, more velocity, things like that. Batting average is going down. We've seen Happy Fun Ball, which I guess is an advancement on the hitter's side, but not really with the hitters, kind of like just with the game that benefited the hitters. And now we're seeing this Torpedo Bat, which I think is clearly benefiting the hitters.
Yeah, for sure.
I expressed on the weekend the fantasy frustration of Jeff, how many hours did we put, not you, not me, all of us, how many hours did we put into off-season research on velocities and sprint speeds and bat speeds and all these things to come up with the best projections, the best rankings we could possibly come up with. And then the Yankees just come out and are like, hey, we found a new bat. This is going to change everything. And a couple of days later, Ellie De La Cruz is using it and a bunch of other players using it. And we know where this is going, in a week.
Yep. Everybody's going to be using it.
Everybody's going to be using it. And you're just like, I just did all this research and you guys actually changed the bat for the first time. And since any of us have been alive, you changed the bat. So I'm having fun with it, but yeah, really frustrating. Just so you know, my Wars team ERA is 8.29 and the WHIP is 1.69. Those are both last place marks so far. Thanks to Bailey Ober and Nestor Cortez and Tanner Houck. Actually, he got a little shot in there too last week. But anyways, yeah. So let's talk Torpedo for a minute. What do we do in fantasy? So we could sit here and talk forever about should the Torpedo Bat be allowed or all these things. The Torpedo Bat's here. What do we do in fantasy?
I think that it's a case there where I mean, you try to find people that are using it. First of all, I think that's the obvious is I think that list is going to grow every day, but LA used it last night but it's not like LA Cruz couldn't hit homers before this. It's just, it's just that he had a really good night against some bad pitching by the Rangers there too. I don't think it's as actionable as we might want to think it is. I mean, maybe you really avoid Yankees now a little bit there. You pitching, I'm not going to bench Corbin Burns tonight in Yankee Stadium, but at the same time, I might avoid lesser pitchers in Yankee Stadium. I might avoid all Milwaukee Brewers, for instance. But the fact is, Nestor Cortez is someone you thought you'd probably be starting all year. And instead, didn't work out that way. And the thing that caught my eye was Volpe's home run. I think that was on opening day, actually, where he went opposite field with that home run. Because, taking advantage of, you always think about left-handers in Yankee Stadium, taking advantage of that short porch. Mm-hmm. But when a right-hander muscles one out that way, that's when you really take notice.
Yes, absolutely. And then I wondered so I ran a poll on Sunday and it said that the Diamondbacks are scheduled for this upcoming series to start 3 pitchers who are pretty widely started usually. So Corbin Burns, 100% started. Zach Gallen, who I'd say is basically 100% started. He wasn't great in his first start, but I would assume in a neutral matchup, he would be 100% started for a second start. And Merrill Kelly, who I wouldn't say is 100% started. He's probably close to 115s for a neutral start. And then even in 12s, he's probably 80% started or something, 75% started. So I said, anyways, I ran would you, against the Yankees this week, would you start all 3? Would you start 2 of the 3? Would you start 1 of the 3? Would you bench them all? Basically, it came back about 90% of the people would start Burns. So even 10% were hesitating on starting Burns, but 90% would start Burns. I think about 60 or 70, I think about 70 would start Gallen. Mm-hmm. And then about 30 or so would start Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, I'm double checking because I know that I benched Kelly in some leagues. I gotta see where I benched him and where I started him. There's
Right.
somewhere I had less. The deeper the league,
Right.
the less options that you have.
Sure. Oh, in a 15, yeah. I did manage to get Kelly to my bench, I think in a 15. I
We
might have
benched him.
benched Gallon in 115. But then I thought, like, you can't go both ways on this. Like, if you're benching Zach Gallen because of the Yankees, then maybe you should be starting Nestor Cortez because he's no longer facing. Like, if it's the Yankees that's your deterrent, then Nestor Cortez is no longer facing the Yankees. In fact, I think in one league, I had the debate of start Nestor Cortez against the Reds or start Zach Gallen against the Yankees.
I
So,
mean, if
it's
you
like, what's the problem here? Is Cortez the problem or are the Yankees the problem?
could it just be yes? Why
I
not
had to
both?
start one. I can't remember which one I picked, but I had to
I would
start one.
start Gallon.
I think I did.
I it's gonna suck tonight. Not tonight, but tomorrow night. It's not gonna be fun. But I just think it's a take your medicine sort of thing here.
What a kick in the pants for Corbin Burns managers. So you draft him in like the third round, second round of some mains, and then he decides not to start in their opening series 4-gamer against the Cubs, which is just already annoying because your ace is the only ace in baseball who's not starting on the first weekend. And then you're like, oh, whatever. At least I get 2 starts the first full week. And then the first starts at Yankee Stadium against the Torpedo Bats.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my gosh. Like if you draft Corbin Burns, I have him in a couple of leagues where I'm like, like you're not starting on Thursday or Friday. Okay, sure, whatever. 2 starts this week. It's at Yankee Stadium.
I know.
So
which do you fear facing the Yankees in Yankee Stadium more or the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium more?
I'm going to say today, because of the weekend, I fear the Yankees more, but I shouldn't. I probably shouldn't. I'm less confident that my pitcher can have a good start against the Dodgers, but I'm more worried about a massive blow up against the Yankees, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Because of the home runs, the home run potential. But I really think that these Torpedo Bats are going to be like, so for sure, for this week, maybe you're avoiding the Yankees, but like in a couple weeks, the Torpedo Bats will probably be in so many hands that by the end of April that unless something changes, that we won't be able to even keep track of it. So then it makes me think of like trying to think ahead, like then how do I decide on my pitchers? Like, am I trying to find pitchers who miss bats? Because at least if they miss bats more, they you know what I mean? Like, do I want to avoid the pitch to contact type guys who can't get strikeouts?
Right.
I don't know. Or is it parks that I'm going to start avoiding? Parks that accentuate power with these bats that may play really well with the bats. So I'm trying to think about that stuff. Or am I just staying away from fringy starting pitchers and use maybe some more relievers with less blow up potential? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to adjust. I mean,
it's early to think about it.
Especially 5 days into the season. Batting average league wide is down, by the way.
Yes.
The league as a whole is hitting 238 so far.
And I think scoring, I don't think scoring is up.
Yeah.
So like I don't even think like batting average is down, power is up. I saw the data before yesterday. I know some teams like the Cubs influenced it, but I think scoring was down.
Yeah, it yesterday alone made it jump like 0.2 of a run, which is a big jump.
Yeah.
Actually. I mean, you had the Reds scoring 2 touchdowns, you had the Cubs scoring 18. That'll do a lot there. Every game had at least 7 runs or more scored in it yesterday. So it was, it took some, there were some uneven matchups there. The Braves, the Braves have scored 8 runs all season, Fred. 8. And
they are trying to keep us. They're trying to keep us from overreacting to these.
And the Braves have not been dealing with cold weather, folks. The Braves have played in San Diego and Los Angeles. Now you can say, okay, face the Padres. They got shut down by Randy Vasquez. I know we picked up Vasquez in a league, and he'll be fine. He'll be cromulent, I hope. But that doesn't mean he's like an ace or anything. No, it's not just that. It's not just facing good pitching. The Braves are in a bad way right now.
They are. They've been probably the most disappointing. The Twins pretty close. The Twins trail the Braves. The Twins are behind the Braves in runs per game, batting average, OPS. So, but I would say there's way more star power in the Braves lineup. Like when I write articles and you talk about streamers on the Braves, often I start writing articles and I'm like, oh, the Braves would be good to stream this weekend. And then I'm like, never mind, like 7 of their players before Jurickson Profar was suspended, but 7, like something like 7 of their players are basically universally started. So there's actually no one to stream. The Twins, on the other hand, they've been even worse than the Braves, but the Twins
have scored 6 runs so far.
6 runs. Yep. The Astros only scored 8. Those are the 3. Those are the 3 that really stand out. Like the paste-eating Rockies have scored 9.
Yep.
And
thank you for calling them by their proper name, by the way. I appreciate you for that.
If you'll notice in our show notes, I didn't even refer to them as the Rockies. I just wrote paste eaters.
Nice.
I'm trying to make that transition for you. Just
let's
out of
make
respect
this
for
universal. You. Yes.
So, but anyways, but we expected the Rockies, especially on the road, to have a bad offense. We expected the Twins to not have a great offense. The Braves were supposed to have a top offense. So far, no good. The Astros top off, good, like really good. So far, no good. And the Twins offense was probably supposed to be at least average. And it's been no good. Again, super early. We see these stretches at like should we? I'm reading nothing into this. Like all these teams are going to go through 4 or 5 game stretches in the middle of the season at some point where they score just a few runs. Like I'm not those things. I feel like I'm not reading anything into it. Do you think I'm wrong? Like, do you think is it time to start saying maybe we overrated these Braves that we're all supposed to bounce back this year?
Could it be both again? That's the second time I'm invoking the both rule, but here, so it's starting to become a lazy narrative for me. But I think it's that they are overrated, and we're probably overreacting a little bit there. But I mean, they're going to get Acuna back. We know last year Olsen started slowly, Riley started slowly, Albie started slowly, Harris started slowly, and then they all got hurt a lot too. I mean, so it just compiled. But the difference was their pitching kept them in things a little bit there too. Grant Holmes, I mean, hey, you got beat by the Dodgers. I'm not really that worried. I still started Grant Holmes this week because he gets the Marlins later in the week. Holmes started against the Marlins. I don't know. We'll see about that, but it's going to be rough there. So I think there's a couple things, the other things we want to talk about there about the Braves though too. You know, and you mentioned to it, you alluded to it. Jurickson Profar got suspended 80 games, coming down pretty hard and heavy on that. He had a breakout year in 2024. He was older. He was terrible in Colorado and then excellent with the Padres. Gets a big contract this year. I think the conclusion is it was worth it for him.
Yeah, the cynical view of the whole thing. It's not even that cynical, just the practical view of the whole thing. You're right. Like his career was floundering. He was like pretty close to probably being out of baseball. Like you said, in 2023, he played most of the season with Colorado, and he finished the season with a 689 OPS. And he was at that point 30. So you're 30, you can't hit in Colorado. Your career OPS at that point is around 700. Like you're pretty much just minor league deals the rest of the way until you're out of baseball. And then he does this, which we will assume he did all of last year, and hits 24 home runs as an 839 OPS, gets a 3-year contract, which he will lose some of from the suspension, but actually end up making, right? He'll make a lot more money than if he just was staying on 1-year deals the rest of the way.
Yep.
Which
I think so.
I mean, we can argue how much of this is because of whatever he was taking, but man, there's a good case that that was a big part of it. Like when you just go back and look at the data from the previous few years and the huge change.
Yeah, for sure. So. Billy says he had to pick up Lars Nootbaar for Profar in 2 leagues. You're lucky that Lars Nootbaar was out there. That's a good pickup. That's a great pickup.
I don't even think that's much. I actually don't think that's much of a loss. Before, like going into the season, I think most of us were projecting some Profar regression, not knowing about the PEs, but just knowing a guy on the wrong side of 30 broke out. Right.
Just anybody coming off of a breakout year, really, unless they're, like you said, especially on the wrong side of 30. But even if like you're 29, 28, and you had a breakout season, probably it's a good percentage bet to expect him to regress some. As Scott Pianowski always likes to say, regress to what? I get it. But
yeah, I think most
regression should be the assumption, though.
Yeah, so Profar hit 24 homers, and I got him projected for like 17, and so like maybe 8 steals. So like you can replace 17 and homers and 8 steals and maybe a 260 projected average or something like that. In some leagues, in 15 teams, this one hurts. There are not a bunch of outfield regulars on the waiver wire. In 12s, I think you can work to replace them, and in 10s pretty easily.
Yeah. A couple other things about the Braves. They started the offseason giving away Jorge Soler. Remember, they got Griffin Canning, but then DFA'd Canning. Canning's actually looking pretty useful for the Mets right now. So I'm not really sure what that transaction was all about money. And you never like to see that from a contending team. Somewhat all about money. I mean, the fact is Soler and Ozuna on the same team doesn't really work because Soler has to play the field and he's not a good defensive player. But they did nothing else until the Profar signing, really. Hector Neris was their one addition. He's been DFA'd, but we also knew he was on the downside of his career. He just didn't expect him to implode as badly as he did. Reynaldo Lopez was a fun story last year, but he kind of wore down at the end of the year last year. Now he had diminished velocity in spring, and that's what sent me running away from him at the second half of draft season, at least. He's on IR with that shoulder. So they've got a lot of other problems too. Bryce Elder is now going to be back in the rotation, and we know kind of how meh he is. Remember they traded away Ian Anderson too, so they're kind of like they're running short on short-term options. And, maybe they'll find the next Schwellenbach though soon. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of great candidates now that Smith Shawver's already up, like from their minor league staff. Yeah, it's like Schwellenbach has a lot of potential. I think Smith Shawver has some potential. Bryce Elder doesn't, but he can maybe eat innings as fifth starter. There's some youth in there. Like Smith Shawver's only 22, Schwellenbach's 24, Elder's 25. Grant Holmes surprisingly old at 29.
Yep.
I would have guessed 26, something like that. If you asked me cold before, and I couldn't look it up. So,
two guys that have been around longer than you think are Grant Holmes and Tobias Myers. Myers Myers once traded for Junior Caminero. Fun fact there.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, the Braves are going to get Strider back. And the Lopez thing isn't supposed to be really long. So, there goes Elder out of the rotation. There could go Smith Shawver or something like the Braves should be fine. Like you said, I think the move, getting rid of Soler was just then turned around and they brought in Profar, maybe trying to get a little more athletic. It just didn't work out. I'm sure they had no idea, just like the rest of us. And then we'll see where they go from here. Like you said, they're going to get Acuna back. It's hard to feel too sorry for when you look at what they can roll out once Acuna's back with Olsen and Riley and Ozuna. But anyway, so far, a lot of these guys aren't hitting. It's super early, but they're not hitting. And now they're playing the Dodgers.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're probably not going to hit for a couple more days.
Tough look.
Then they'll take it all out on the Marlins this weekend.
Yes,
hopefully.
Poor Marlins. We had, not counting Alexis Diaz because he's on the IL and he could close eventually, but we had our first official closer lost job of the year. David Bednar, not just losing the closer job, straight up sent down by the Braves this afternoon.
So he's a drop, right?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't even hold him and hope that he has 2 good weeks in the minors and comes right back as the closer. I don't see that.
I mean, it's possible. They turn him around and they figure it out, but this is it's not like this is new. This is what was happening at the end of the year last year too. And that's the reason why I'm pretty skeptical of that. It's like, it'd be one thing if they actually did that. If this is out of the blue, oh, well, he's just not feeling great or something like that. Something like Diaz a little bit there, but even Diaz was bad last year too, for a good amount of time. Yeah, I think he is a send down there. Do you like Santana or Holderman better?
Well, I guess Santana, so I actually drafted Holderman in the Tout Wars draft and hold, but really round, I don't know, 47, something like that. Holderman is not off to a good start. He's got one of those whips that looks like an ERA, so it's 2.33. But anyways, he's got, in 3 innings, he's walked 3 and he's given up a homer. This is just the 2 bad things for relievers to do, right? Walk batters and or give up home runs. Santana's walked a couple in 1 1/3 innings, but he hasn't given up any hits. I don't know. I thought Santana maybe going into the season had a bit of a leg up on Holderman. So I'm going to stick with Santana.
Yeah.
If I was picking up one right now, if I'm in a Yahoo league, something like that, and I could just go grab one of them off waivers, I'm going to grab Santana. What about you?
I lean Santana as well. I mean, I think Holderman's been vetted a little bit more, which we kind of know who he is. He's an average garden variety reliever, 1.3 whip every year. I don't think he's got the upside to be better. That's kind of where I'm leaning on that. Yeah, I don't think either of them are a special pitcher though. I don't think this is oh yes, it's Santana season. We've been waiting for this. I I think he'd be all right. Could be Caleb Ferguson, as Murray and Murray GD 13 says. Yeah, it could be.
I wanted to believe that, but Caleb Ferguson's been pretty bad the last couple of years, and he's a lefty. Now, the one thing I'll say about the Pirates is they have a lot of lefties in the bullpen, so they are a team that actually could use a lefty as closer and still have lots of lefties to be lefties. But Ryan Baraki, no, that's a bad bullpen.
Yeah,
what are the Pirates doing?
It's a bad team.
Oh.
It's a team that didn't try. That's the thing that's so annoying.
And with Jared Jones out, like it's just like Paul Skeens and a bunch of bums, basically. I feel sorry, Pirates, or if anyone's listening.
Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry. Hey, apologies to O'Neill Cruz and to Brian Reynolds and guys like that. It's not just Paul Skeens and a bunch of bums, but this is not a good lineup and a terrible bullpen, and the back end of the rotation is awful. This team stinks, and it has maybe the best pitcher in baseball on it.
Yeah.
And one of the most exciting position players with Cruz. Both exciting when he's up to bat and when other people are up to bat.
Can you name the one good thing the Pirates have done so far in their 5 games this year?
Steal bases. Yes. Now, I don't know, how much do we give the Pirates credit, and how much did they just realize Thursday, oh my God, we can run on we can do anything we want to the Marlins.
I think maybe at least they can run. They can't do anything else, but
on the base paths, not only do they have 17 steals, but they have 17 steals in 18 tries.
Right. They've been caught once.
They have nothing's happened to give them any reason to pause and be like, oh, maybe we're being too aggressive here.
Yep. I did. So on VSiN, we do a show on VSiN every day, Vegas Sports and Information Network. And my best bet of the day was O'Neill Cruz, half a stolen base. Over half a stolen base. Obviously, he gets one, you win. Now he has to get on base first. I get that there, but they're facing the Rays, and Danny Jansen is the catcher there. Danny Jansen as a Jays fan. He does not control the running game at all. Runners were 62 for 72 against him last year. The other catcher, Ben Rortvedt, they were 64 for 76 against him. So, you can run against either catcher, and it just has to get on base.
Yep, just have to get on base. So O'Neill Cruz, and he has 6 walks so far, which is actually really impressive for him for such a big player. Only 3 hits, 1's a homer, so only 2 couple singles. But anyways, and they've been running with guys who don't necessarily Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. He can steal a few bases, but have 4 steals already. Tommy Pham has a couple steals. Jack Sawinski has a couple steals. Joey Bart has stolen a base. They're just basically against Miami. They were just sending everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So my takeaway is, and I was already working on this for an upcoming article, was basically who's facing Miami next. Until I see how Miami does in their next couple of series, I think you want to keep throwing base stealers at Miami. And it's the Braves this weekend, and that's actually not a great one. The Braves don't have a ton of base stealers. With
Michael Harris season, baby.
Yeah, he's not even a huge base stealer.
No.
But you're right. He could totally steal a base. Ozzie Albies can steal a base, but he's not a huge base stealer. Yep. Jared Kelenic can actually steal a base, but he's not a huge base stealer, and he's a terrible player.
Right.
But
by the way, go to the Drake Baldwin is also not good at controlling the running game. So that's another thing to kind of watch out for there a little bit there. That you can run against the Braves. So maybe Miami versus Atlanta is just the run fest.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some teams like Padres, 10 steals already. Red Sox, 9 steals in 5 games too. So, so a few teams are really pushing it on the base paths right now.
Exactly. So, all right, just thought it'd be worth noting that. That's some positive. By the way, Jeff Campbell on Twitter points out Justin Lawrence is on the Pirates as well, as could also be an option. Former closer on the Pace Beaters. So, good job by calling them by their proper name, Jeff. Well done. I appreciate you for that. We also appreciate our fine sponsors, including Vivid Seats. Finally, baseball is back. This MLB season, knock it out of the park with Vivid Seats and score great tickets to the biggest games of the year. Every fastball, every home run, and every eye-popping play of your favorite team, live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, you earn rewards with every single purchase. Just buy 10 tickets, then cash in your credit toward your free 11th ticket. Talk about an easy win. And here's a pro reward tip. When buying tickets for your whole group, split the bill and make progress towards your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the dugout to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all the 2025 games that matter to you. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Experience it live. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions. All right. Couple other noteworthy things here. Sean Manaea had a setback for the Mets. They get Kodai Senga making his debut today. So that's that's something that's a good note for the Mets there. But they were kind of hoping to have Manaea back. I know I drafted him thinking, okay, well, I'll miss a month. I can live with that. It was discounted enough. Now we're probably talking end of May, beginning of June. If you're holding on to Manaea, are you dropping him now?
Yeah, I think so. That's a really, I guess it depends league size, IL slots, etc. But like
Main
in
event
NFBC style, I think I think I'm not holding till the end of May.
It's tough.
I mean, I guess I won't force him. I'm trying to decide, like, would I force him off my roster at the end of the week? Maybe not. But if there's someone I want to pick up, I'll drop him. Like, is that fair? Like say I wouldn't pick him up. Let's say there's no clarity on the Reds bullpen by the end of the week. And there's still like Scott Barlow still sitting on my waiver wire. I don't know if I'd do it for that.
Yeah.
But anything else, like anyone I want, anyone I think I could use, I would pick up. I think I would drop him. What about you?
I think he's a drop in any league that doesn't have IL spots. I mean, I don't want to hold him onto a 12 teamer, especially because the quality of the player on the waiver wire is so good. I think, and this week I've got Profar in the main. He's an easy drop. I can't hold on to him, especially if you have, especially if you're holding on to anybody else that's hurt. Like I've got Francisco Alvarez. I mean, I can't go with two hands tied behind my back. It's bad enough with one hand tied behind my back.
How about this Colton Cowser? Missing 6+ weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. That's the end of May.
That's gross.
And I'd say a healthy Colton Cowser and a healthy Sean Manaea would have been drafted in the same range. Maybe Manaea even a little earlier, but around the same range. So I'd say if you're dropping Manaea, you're probably also dropping Cowser. And you have some Cowser. Like, I know I'm hitting home here.
Yeah, you are. You are. I think, well, at least one of them, I think Labor is one of them, right?
Okay, so
at least I got an IL spot there.
For sure.
One thing that's here, this is where the My Leagues thing really works out well for you on one of the tools on RotoWire. You want to know where you got a player? Just go, first of all, import your leagues into the My Leagues function there, and then you can figure out where you have them. I've got 2 leagues with IL spots, a Yahoo league and then Labor, the mixed draft league. And then I have a draft champions league. So there are no drops in that league. So I'm not dropping them, but it's only because I can't.
Right. Yeah. NFBC type leagues. I think it's the same thing as Manaea. Like, I don't think I go into Sunday. I don't think, and I just make up this massive waterfall with Colton Cowser as the drop because I'm just going to take anyone, but I'm probably dropping him. I think I'm going to look around. It depends. Like, I'd have to have maybe no other injuries, which is unlikely. To keep him. Aaron Savali, by the way, also an easy drop. He's an easy drop. Aaron Savali, easy drop. He's on the IL. Yep. Manaea and Cowser, I think, are probably drops. Reynaldo Lopez, who we already mentioned, I think is not a drop. It sounds like he may not be out that long. And Gleyber Torres, he's the other IL guy from yesterday. I think that he's not a drop in 15s. I haven't seen a firm timeline on him, but he's not that great of a player. I don't know how long I'd hold him for in 12s.
I know. It's tough. I again, the only place I have Gleyber is in a score sheet keeper league where I've had him for years as a Cubs prospect, no less.
Yeah. It's an oblique. So like obliques.
Sometimes those are 2 weeks. Sometimes they're 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, does it feel like that we've had way more oblique injuries than usual? And they're more severe than usual too.
I felt like there was a lot of obliques last year too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a pretty common one. Maybe even early in the season, it's a common one. I don't know, but I felt like we had a lot of obliques last year too.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of a fitness guy, is it? Not just kind of, you are.
No, I laughed at even being called kind of a fitness guy.
Yeah. But this isn't something that happened 30 years ago. At least it wasn't diagnosed. Is the training
like nobody had obliques 30 years ago. You just had
that's what I'm wondering. Like
layer of fat over your stomach, and
Is it because we're in better conditioning?
I think
Is
so.
the type of conditioning changed? So therefore we have a muscle down that we can pull that we couldn't pull before?
I think some of it. I think maybe being really, really fit. Not all these baseball players are really fit, but being in good shape probably enhances your chances of strains, like being really
That's so
muscular.
perverse. That's so
Being really
perverse.
muscular, right? And having maybe big muscles, like having big muscles in your shoulders and your arms and your chest. I know that like you're just generating more power,
Yeah.
right? As far as
More
like
torque.
right,
More-
that's it. You're generating more torque, more
Yeah.
power, so you're probably more likely to strain things because of that. Like you're swinging the bat faster and more violently than guys were when they were not as strong, not in as good a shape. So that would make sense.
So that's my whole like life lesson there. Just be in quasi shape like me. Yeah. Enough that I can run around and play, but so slow that I never pull a muscle running.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I'm going to go with there.
Yeah.
Never pull an oblique. I guess.
Tyler O'Neill is like the ultimate of those guys. I feel like he's in incredible shape, and he's always finishes the season with like 400 plate appearances or 400 at bats.
Look at Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton. The guy's freaking Adonis, but he gets hurt all the time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Again, like this is, not much research behind all these anecdotal things, but I do know, I have heard of, for sure,
That's a gentle rebuke there, Fred.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have heard of lots of professional athletes over the years who have said that they maybe try to have like, be a little less ripped. Some of them when they start their in different sports, when they maybe a little less ripped as they got older, just because they felt like that made them a little more durable.
All right.
Yeah.
Here endeth Fitness Corner. We'll move back on to the Fantasy Baseball Podcast.
Yeah.
Before we do that, quick note from our friends at Rebet. March Madness is here, and if you're looking for a way to get in the game, it's time to check out Rebet, the ultimate social sportsbook and casino platform. With over 100-plus leagues on the sportsbook and 24/7 live dealer casino games, Rebet is striving to give users an experience they haven't had elsewhere. All March long, Rebet is rolling out daily promos, making it the ultimate month of exciting offers for their fans. Right now, for a limited time, Rebet is matching your first purchase up to $100 in Rebet cash when you use promo code RotoWire. Download Rebet today on the App Store or Google Play. Enter code RotoWire and start playing with your promo funds. It's time to play, predict, and experience the madness. Only on Rebet. Thanks for Rebet there. Let's talk about two-start streamers and the disasters that can happen with that there. I'm looking at you, Kumar Rocker, or even worse, Emerson Hancock or Chris Paddack. Chris Paddack. Let's talk Chris Paddack because you know what? I'm glad that happened because screw the Twins. You know, me and my former shares of David Festa or Zebby Matthews. Screw you, Twins. You went with the cowardly route, went with Chris Paddack instead. You got beat up by the White Sox of all people.
I'm not feeling like this because I did start Chris Paddack in a league or two.
No, I'm sorry.
At least one. I tried to start him in more. Like I tried to claim him, but I didn't try hard. Like I put in $6 kind of thing out of 1,000, but I tried to grab him. But I had just written, Chris Paddack was a little better than he looked last year. His ERA was 4.99, but most of his estimators were in the low fours. And, his strikeout to walk ratio was 15.1% last year. It's not terrible and not bad at all. And then, I said like he's playing the White Sox to open the week. So, I mean, at the very least, you get one real favorable start. Like I thought, Chris Paddack, sure, if you're dealing with some injuries in your rotation, lots of us are, grab Chris Paddack for a week. Whoops. Yeah.
Yep.
That one was.
Well, I've got Simeon Woods Richardson going tonight.
Like the Emerson Hancock, like I said, at flat note, Emerson Hancock, his schedule is actually not bad this week, but he has shown us nothing.
No,
in his career,
not a thing.
Right. So, Chris Paddack's, I know he's not the same guy anymore. His career whip's 1.20. Like, I was like, okay, come on, a 2-start week, one with the White Sox, like this can work. Oh, and he was also coming off a really good spring. Off top of my head, I want to say his strikeout to walk ratio in the spring was 21-4. So at least looks like he was coming off like a healthy spring. So I don't know. That one was really frustrating. Like I said, Emerson Hancock, I think, was too far. Even Kumar Rocker, I don't have any Kumar Rocker, and I understand why people would start him, and I wasn't totally against it. But Kumar Rocker has been really a lot of he has not yet found himself in the majors. Like a lot of trouble with walks in spring training, a lot of trouble with walks in really short sample sizes, but a lot of trouble with walks last year. You know, he can get some strikeouts, but he hasn't really figured this whole thing out yet at the major league level. So I felt like he was a little more risky, even than Paddack.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And he's in Cincinnati.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, the White Sox, by the way, have forced two teams. Well, not forced, but two teams have used a position player to pitch against them in 4 games so far this year. Opening day, the cowardly Angels. Oh my God, the Angels. That's another team that just deserves all our derision. They're not quite the pace eaters, but I think they are the AL version of them in some ways, because they theoretically try, but not really. And they make dumb decisions all the time. But they had a kid who had never pitched in the minors ever. He was a draftee last year that made the team out of spring training. They used him in a 3-0 game. He got cuffed around. It was 8-0. They brought in the position player then. It's opening day. You have like 12 pitchers on your roster. Come on. And an off day the next day. That's, this whole thing about, we got to save our bullpen is opening day. You don't have a bullpen to save. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Remember, we talked in the offseason at one point, or early, like in the preseason. I can't remember which. Maybe it was when they got Yoan Moncada. I can't remember which one it was, or maybe it was just when we were randomly talking about like Taylor Ward and some guys like that. And I said, like, are these guys trying? Like, it kind of seems like the Angels, in a way, they are a little bit like the pace eaters, in that it's like they're kind of trying. But then you're just like, this is what your trying looks like. Like they signed Kikuchi. Like, that's what teams do when they're trying.
Right.
But then
they traded for Soler. I'm okay with that.
But then you look at the totality of what they did and what their team looks like.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, right. Kenley Jansen. There's another one. Why sign an old closer unless you're trying? But then you look at their whole team and you're just like, wait, you guys are trying? Like, this is what your trying looks like?
Yeah.
It is.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was only fitting that Mickey Moniak went from the Angels to the Rockies, and they sent down Zach Veen. I mean, it's really. I mean, come on. That's pretty awful as far as all that goes. So, all right, rip on Angels time. They did win yesterday, at least. There actually are 3-1. They took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox. By the way, in that White Sox Twins game, I mean, we had the wrong streamer. It should have been Martin Perez. Had a no working. Martin Perez didn't throw 90 miles an hour, but still had a no working against the Twins. Oh my goodness. How bad are the Twins?
I know, this was the frustrating part. And it's so the other thing with the Chris Paddacks, maybe I'm just explaining myself away on this one or something, but
yeah, sure.
Like the White Sox scored 8 runs on opening day, but then the next game they scored 0, and the next game they scored 2. So you're like, okay, they're the White Sox. Like, they just got a little bump on opening day, but they're still the White Sox. And then, so like Chris Paddack, like I said, like, he seemed safe. And I didn't even look at Martin Perez. Like, I know the Twins have been so bad in their first series, but I was like, I'm not starting Martin Perez in this first full week of the season. Like, I can do better.
Or any week of the season for that matter. Yeah.
Well,
maybe you are now, but I think that's danger. As the weather warms up, the ball starts traveling a little bit more. He's a pitch to contact guy. I think that's just danger lurking around the corner there.
148 whip last year.
Is that bad? I don't know. I've heard that might be
before.
Bad. People are saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, but the White Sox have been off to a really good start, like, as far as pitching. The pitching, I feel like so far, and this is just anecdotal, has been really hit or miss.
Yeah.
Like there's there's been these massive starter blowups. And again, I don't know if I guess that jives with low batting average, but plenty of home runs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you either avoid the home runs and you do really well, or you give up the home runs and it gets really ugly really fast. Again, like, I'm simplifying the whole thing, but I feel like the starting pitching so far, there's been plenty of good performances. Like, I was listing them from last night, and there were tons of pitchers last night. Like, just quickly, a quick look before we get any names. Like, I can see 2, 4, 6 of them who didn't give up a run. 6 pitchers last night, at least, didn't go, who I bothered to mention our notes, didn't give up a run. And then you've got these, like, terrible starts from a few pitchers.
So the other terrible start worth mentioning is Emerson Hancock, who couldn't even get out of the first inning. And I think most people are wise on Hancock because he's never been good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was inheriting the George Kirby spot in the rotation. It's Safeco / T-Mobile, whatever it is this year. Great ballpark. Tigers aren't a good team. This is a great stream. And then it wasn't.
And maybe the more noteworthy one for fantasy on the other side of the same game, like Jackson Jobe, it's like really disappointing season
Yeah.
debut for
I thought
him.
he'd have more Ks at least. He didn't even do that. Only like 3 strikeouts
And
too.
right, and he's facing again. He's in Seattle, great park to pitch in, bad offense, and like all over the place. I thought when I looked at the box score, I was like, "What happened to this Jackson Jobe we said in spring training?" You're like, "Here's my stuff. Go ahead and hit it. I bet you can." I can't remember exactly what his line was, but that was pretty much it, right? And that kind of went viral. Like, I'm
Mhm.
just going to throw strikes. This is my stuff. Let's see if you can hit it. I bet you can't hit it. Well, last night he walked 4 guys.
Yeah.
So
See, also like
what happened to this guy who's going to pound the strike zone?
exactly. Well, and maybe he did get hit a little bit because guess what? He wasn't facing AA players in the 6th inning anymore either.
Mhm.
So go figure.
Mhm.
Or even starting in spring training. So
He's a Mariners, so he's still facing a couple AA players, but
yeah. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'm being a little too hard. But I have concerns about Jackson Jobe. Not the same as Kumar Rocker, but I have concerns about Jackson Jobe. Like I like not long-term potential, but I'm just not sure. We'll see. Like I was never
Yeah.
sold on that he's going to just rock this season.
Yeah.
He can certainly throw hard, but we've seen lots of guys who can throw hard who don't get it done right away.
Yep.
We'll
Yep.
see.
For
We'll
sure.
see. I'm not writing the kid off or anything, obviously, yet, even for this year. But I wasn't like when I found out he's in the rotation. I wasn't like, oh, let's just go get out and get this guy. You got to get this guy. I don't
I,
know. I'm not sure. And this start looked like that.
I think he has pitches that could be great someday, but he's not there yet, and his ability to use them isn't quite there yet. Contrast that with Cade Povich yesterday, who
Yep.
had 8 strikeouts. When Cade Povich got called up initially in his first 11 starts, he was knocked around pretty silly. But then he came back up in September and was averaging over a strikeout per inning, had much better ratios. It just takes a little bit of experience. How many times have we used to talk about that with both hitters and pitchers, that they need experience at the big league level? I think we forget that lesson every single year, Fred. Then we have to reteach ourselves, I feel like.
Yep. That's what makes post type sleepers such a thing. Like
Yep.
there's the Paul Skeens of the world, but that's not most people. Like very few pitchers or hitters, but can come up and just hit the ground running. There's a few are super talented. Christian Campbell looks like maybe he can be one of those guys who comes up and does well right away. He's off to a pretty good start. But most guys, like you said, they come up and they need to experience some failure and reevaluate and come back stronger. And I was okay with Cade Povich's start yesterday. Like it wasn't amazing for sure. He didn't get through the 5th inning, but 8 strikeouts. Yeah, I mean, if you look at these numbers are all ridiculous this time of year, but 6.23 ERA, 0.51 FIP after
Yep.
his first start. So like he did some good things in that start. He just was a little unlucky with batted balls to give up the 5 hits. No
Yeah.
home runs.
Right.
Oh, I think I okay. No, forget it. I was gonna say Cade Povich or Jackson Jobe going forward. I'd still be Jackson Jobe just for the upside for now, but wouldn't be surprising to me at all if Cade Povich was more valuable this year.
Right. I say one other thing about streaming, and this applies more to your deeper leagues, your 15-team mixed leagues, maybe even 12s, but mostly 15s. The quality of pitchers that you have available to stream that are available on the waiver wire are like this. You have it really is playing a little bit of roulette, and you're hoping the wheel stops on your proper number and it's not Russian roulette instead. There, because more often than not, you're talking about people emerging in a role. Maybe you get lucky and Ben Brown is there like he was on a main event leagues. He got a win for you. That was a quality pickup. There's so many others there that you're just like, you're playing with fire. But that's guess what? That's the drill. And so you don't, the whole thing is to try to draft so you avoid doing that. How do you do that? You draft a bunch of starting pitchers on reserve in your reserve rounds early on, especially in leagues like the main event where you have 7 bench spots. You should use at least 5 of them on starting pitching. So that way you don't have to stream. Better reserves than stream. But it's a necessary evil at times. But one of my best teams in the main was one that we went 2 months without streaming a starting pitcher. It was lovely. I never had to force it. It was just like, okay, well, we've got this guy. And then you're allowed. And then the other great thing about that too, is if you draft a bunch of them, that means you're usually probably accumulating wins. And that means that later on you can spec on closers, or better yet, even just take a very good reliever with good ratios and use them that given week if you don't have a good start. So I think that's the other plus of doing it that way.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, sometimes the best made plans of mice and men, sometimes you had this plan to stockpile starters, but one of them was Shane McClanahan and one was Clark Schmidt and one was Max Scherzer. And next thing you know, you're like, now I'm dipping into the waiver wire. But this early in the season, again, a takeaway I maybe had was the bad part about adding Chris Paddack is he was a pure streamer. Like there's to me, like no chance that you were really going to want to keep Chris Paddack going forward. So you're taking the streamer risk and you have no keeper value from him. And it's early April where bench spots and roster spots are really valuable. So whereas Ben Brown, and that's why he went for a lot more money, but Ben Brown has that, he has that streamer potential for this week, but also the potential to be on your roster for months.
Yep.
Whereas Chris Paddack didn't. Even if you got burned, and Kumar Rocker was drafted, so it's not quite the same, but at least Kumar Rocker has like lots of potential.
Right.
But yeah, you start to see some of the biggest picks in your draft are mid to early late round pitchers. Like there's people last night who had Chris Bubich. There's people last night who had Bowden Francis. There's people who picked Jordan Hicks. There's people who picked True Rasmussen. And then there's other people who drafted Kumar Rocker. Like those mid to late round pitchers, often the results are so polarized.
For sure.
And hitters, sure, there's some breakout hitters, but maybe a good hitter got you 20 home runs and the not so good one only got you 13 or something. The pitchers, the gap between maybe Chris Bubich and Kumar Rocker this year could be $30 or $20 or something like that. That's the range where we see some massive breakouts and some huge failures in starting pitching. So, and I think it was really on display last night.
Right. And sometimes the process is right. You stream against the White Sox. That should be smart.
It should be smart.
It just didn't work out this time.
Didn't.
But there's other factors, obviously.
Do you go back to the well tonight with Simeon Woods Richardson?
I have in one league, I think. I don't love it, but sometimes that's what the pool gives you. Yeah, I have them in Scarf, and if you have them, you're going to use them. I think that's for me, that's the context. But I wasn't one of my top targets on the waiver wire either. So that there is that. Quick note. First of all, we're going to talk a little Thomas Harrington. Before that, though, we are on the BlueWire network. Thank you for the BlueWire network for hosting us, as always. Thomas Harrington's getting the call for the Pirates, as opposed to last year where they waited until May to call up Paul Skeens. The Pirates are actually calling up Harrington now. He is one of their top prospects. They have 3 really good pitching prospects. I think Harrington is probably the most polished of the 3. I like him. I also kind of like, I mean, there's a couple of Pirates that I do like, but it's interesting that maybe it's just the scheduling worked out that way. I think Harrington does have a little bit more polish than say maybe who's this?
Bubba Chandler.
Bubba Chandler. Thank you. But I think we'll see Chandler at some point too. I think the Pirates screwed up last year. They could have netted an extra draft pick by calling up Skeens earlier. Now they're going to go ahead and at least they've got Harrington going. How excited would you be to use him against the Rays?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think that's a fair, the Rays, I don't fear the Rays lineup at all. So yeah, I think that's a fine matchup. And if that matchup goes decently, I think he'll get not a massive bid on Sunday, but probably if he's still in the rotation and he's had a decent start against the Rays, I'd say he could get, I don't know, a $60 bid, something like that. People out there who need starting pitching. So yeah, I think you're right. He might be more polished than Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler probably has more upside. There's a lot of people have Bubba Chandler stashed right now and are probably growling at their phones and computer screens when they see that he's not the guy who got the call today. I wondered if Harrington, he's a good prospect too. I wondered if Chandler will come up a little later and then come up to stay, whereas Harrington, maybe he's up and then they manipulate him a bit, send him down at some point, depending on how it goes. But
I think you do that with hitters more than you do with pitchers. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I just, pitchers can get hurt.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't bother playing the service time games with any pitcher.
Right.
Skeens included. I would just
keep rolling.
Keep rolling.
Yeah.
When a pitcher is ready, especially a high velocity pitcher who's a kind of a ticking time bomb anyhow. I think all pitchers that throw 95 plus, I view them as ticking time bombs. Get what you can out of them. If they're ready, use them now.
Or if you're the Angels, use them when they're not even ready.
Yeah.
Just as soon as you draft
Or-
him. Just you're in the organization, kid. Get out there.
Yeah. Or the Twins with Bailey Ober, like lost 13 pounds with the illness and all that. Up, go ahead and pitch in the rain, kid.
Right.
Ugh, so
Right.
annoying.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not doing anything with Ober. I'm just going to keep using him, but it's super annoying. He might not even be back all the way back in his next start, but we'll see. I got it. It's 2 years in a row where he's blown us up on his first start, and it's super annoying. But I still believe in his overall skills. So
if he has his regular Bailey Ober year, I'll still use him for his first start again next year.
Yep.
I can't. Yep. I refuse to believe that he's got some sort of first start. Like you said, this year apparently he's sick. Jumping back to Thomas Harrington, just for people who are wondering, he's like a little bit over a strikeout per inning in the minors, so he's got enough swing and miss, but not like an amazing swing and miss. He's kind of just like fine, like at everything in his minor league career. Career ERA is 309, whips 1.11, strikeout rate's solid, walk rate's fine. It's not amazing. Rate of giving up home runs is fine. He's like totally seems like he might be ready for the majors, but probably nothing in his minor league profile really indicates that he's like ready to come up and dominate the majors, but maybe ready to come up and be fine. Yeah. There's not a dominant skill here. Like with Ben Brown, for example, who I know some people bid heavily on, and I have him in some leagues.
I didn't bid heavily enough on.
I heard you say that. And I perfected my plan of finishing second in bidding on Ben Brown in a couple leagues, but I already had him in a couple leagues because I was really into him at the start of draft season. And then when it seemed more apparent that he wasn't going to make the rotation, I kind of backed off later, unfortunately. But Ben Brown, he has that strikeout potential. So Harrington probably doesn't. Like he's probably going to sit in the 8s, or maybe even probably in the 8s. I'm going to say hopefully in the 8s for K per 9. But so I feel like Harrington's going to be like a 4 ERA, like a guy who can probably help you in a 15-team league. And maybe you give a shot in a 12, but maybe he's not. Maybe he's kind of more fringy in the end in a 12. So that's kind of how I see him. Also, he's on the Pirates, so.
Yeah, I'm looking ahead at the schedule, and you know, if he sticks in the rotation, he would get the Cardinals next Monday, and then the Reds in Great American on Sunday, 2-stepper. But at least we'll get to see one start for him before we do our bidding. So there is that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And now they need to push someone out. I'm assuming Carmen Mlodzinski will come out of their rotation, unless they're going to 6. But I would assume they're not going to go to 6 with Paul Skeens in their rotation. So.
Yeah, that would be kind of crazy. Yeah. By the way, it's McGinsky.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. There you go.
Only because I looked that up last week on Baseball Reference and saw that in there. There's no G in there, but still McGinsky.
Okay. There are moments where I've mispronounced names over the years and felt really bad about it, but this
don't feel bad about that one at all.
Well, also like no offense, Carmen, but you haven't
earned it yet.
Point yet. Where I mean, you have had some respectable relief seasons, but nothing that's really put you on my fantasy radar.
He was a supplemental first-round draft pick in 2000.
Yeah,
fun fact.
He was. Yeah. He was. Maybe there's still potential. He's only 26. Maybe I'll be adding Carmen in a couple weeks and say, sorry that I mispronounced your name.
Yeah, it'd be great if he got traded to San Diego. So we could say, where in the world is Carmen in San Diego? Right.
That's got to happen at some point.
Yes, it will. It must. It must. I'll find a way to force it. I just did. So
yeah, you put it out there to the universe. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Let's finish with 2 slumpers. Rafael Devers, and which I think everybody's been talking about. Maybe not as talking about as much as Dylan Cruz. Which one do you want to start off with?
Rafael Devers. So. What are we doing here? Are we just holding because you're not going to get it? Let's say, like, if you drafted him and you're in an NFBC league or whatever, like, tough luck. Hold on to him, leave him in your lineup for a couple more weeks. Hope that this whole thing sorts itself out. If you're in a league where you can trade, like, would you try to sell low on him? Would you buy low on him? How low? Why don't I throw some names at you, Jeff?
I would buy low.
Alex Bregman.
I would take Devers.
Okay. Jordan Westberg.
Closer, because I love Westberg.
Mm-hmm.
And this is weird because I was fading Devers in draft season. We've talked about this before. I think Bregman is the right price for me. I would take Devers for him there. I might even go him over Westberg, but it's closer because Westberg can run a little bit too.
Junior Caminero.
Oh, so trendy. So trendy. And I think Caminero is using the Torpedo Bat too. Fun fact.
Have to take him then.
Yeah.
Maybe Devers should get the Torpedo Bat, although I don't think the Torpedo Bat works unless
You have to make contact
I was
first.
about to say you have to strike the baseball. Yeah.
So, fun fact on Devers, his swing speed right now is according to Baseball Savant is at the 31st percentile in baseball. Last year is at the 60th percentile. In 2023 is the 69th percentile. He started having the shoulder problems in the second half of the last season.
So aren't you thinking maybe this guy's not healthy and you should go
Yes.
near him? You should just keep your Alex Bregman?
I do think that he is unhealthy a little bit. I'm I think I only think I have Bregman in the league. That's a I couldn't trade for Devers anyhow, but I think it's a non-trade league. But yeah, I mean, you make a good point.
Let's go a little lower. Mark Vientos, Jake Berger, Matt Chapman, Devers over all those guys.
Yeah, I like all three. By the way, though, this is the thing. I was passing on Devers in the third and taking one of those guys. That was the thing.
Right.
That's how we did that there.
So what I did, I grabbed main event ADP. Devers is 50, and then I just went from. So there's actually a lot of gap at third base after him. I was just compared with third baseman, but like he's 50, and there's only one other guy between him and 100. So and that was Caminero. So and then Westberg, Bregman are a little after 100, and then that Vientos, Berger, Chapman is all around 115, 120. So we're kind of saying he's around 100th if you're putting him kind of around Bregman right now. Yeah, I don't think I'm buying low. I don't think I want to deal with his shoulder. And I'm with you. Like I would honestly think about a guy like a Jordan Westberg if I liked him. Like if there was a guy in my draft who I didn't get in that range, just because, I needed a draft pitcher at the time, or there was another guy I really liked, I can't get them both. Then I would look at it. Like I feel like that's kind of how I would look at it. I don't think I would just jump off for anyone, but if there was a guy taken, say 3 rounds later or something like that, and I was like, oh, I actually really like that guy. I just needed a starter at the time. I think I'd look at that. I think we're both worried that this guy's not healthy.
Yeah, I think so too. But the thing is, though, once we get clearance on his health, once he starts showing any sign, that price will go away. You'll never get that price again. So that's the trade-off. But maybe that's okay. Sometimes it's okay not to get the deal. It's right. Yeah, I missed on my window, but sometimes because the window is false.
That's right. Because there's no player out there who you have to win your league.
Right.
So
that's right.
So if you're, and it's certainly not Rafael Devers. Like if it was anyone, it's like Aaron Judge or something like that, or Ohtani. Like those are the guys who can blow your league out of the water with their stats. Basically, be like 2 players in one. But it's not Devers. So that's where I kind of feel like with buying low on him, and why I'm not that into it is like he's a good player when he's like really good player when he's healthy. But I don't have to have him to win my league. So I don't know if I don't think I'm going to take the chance.
Yeah, best version of Devers is still like a late second round player.
Absolutely.
Maybe mid second round.
Maybe.
Player.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Especially because he's not going to run. So that's that there.
And then segueing, are you more concerned about Devers or Dylan Cruz, who's not hurt, but also has no track record?
No track record is the thing. I mean, I'm more concerned about Cruz because Cruz could get sent down. Honestly, he didn't hit last year. He just he did walk a bunch. And because he walked, he got his stolen bases. But he seemed a little overmatched hitting wise too. And he's kind of been a little bit of a slow brew prospect. So I think in a dynasty keeper sort of format, I'm not as worried, but for this year, I'm worried.
Yep. I concur with all that. I mean, the one good thing last year is he didn't strike out a ton. So he had 26 strikeouts and 132 plate appearances. That's totally acceptable for a player his age. Figuring it out. This year, though, he struck out a ton. So he's had 16 plate appearances, 10 strikeouts, which is like not going to get much worse than that. Only Rafael Devers has been worse than that this year. Yeah. He's faced, like he did have a 5 strikeout game. So as far as just
so did Jackson Churio, by the way, on opening day. So that was fun. Considering I took him over Tatis. How's that working out so far? I knew I even expressed that I might be doing this wrong. It did I didn't want to be so revealed on opening day, though. It would have been nice to at least make it last a little longer.
For sure. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, jumping back to Cruz, like in a game started by Jesus Luzardo, he struck out 5 times. in a game started by Aaron Nola. He struck out 3 times. Aaron Nola's not a huge strikeout guy anymore. Bowden Francis started yesterday. He struck out twice. I'm not sure if he struck both strikeouts were at the hands of Francis, but in fact, I think they weren't. I watched a good amount of that game, but anyways, like it's not like this guy has faced Skeens and Skubal or something like that already, something like that. So yeah, I'm worried about Dylan Cruz too. I'm sure you would gladly trade him right now for Stephen Kwan.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Snap call.
Jorge Soler.
No, because I got Cruz for the speed. So I'd be looking for somebody to try to get speed in replacement there.
Lane Thomas. I don't like Lane Thomas. So
I had my run with Lane Thomas last year and it was enough.
Cedric Mullins. That is there's the epitome. Yeah. So would you trade him for Cedric Mullins, who I feel like is like just a predictable, not a good batting average, doesn't kill you, but not a good batting average. And like 3 years in a row, he's hit like about 15, 17, 18 homers and stole about 30 bases, like pretty much every year. So he's like a 15, pretty predictable 15, 30.
Yeah, I know there's some rumblings about the Orioles maybe looking to trade him or Mountcastle at some point in time because of their overcrowdedness. But as we saw this week with Cowser, there's a reason why you have redundancy. So
Cowser's out. Kirsten hasn't done anything in the majors.
Yeah, I would snap call take Mullins over Cruz the rest of the way.
There you go. There's your kind of your guy. TJ Friedel. He's another same profile, a little further down, maybe a little less track record.
Less track record. They're trying to get him to not loft the ball. They're trying to get him to hit it on the ground more. Specifically what they said is Tito challenged him to get on base twice a game. And he goes, try to de-emphasize lifting the ball. If you run into one, great. But but the problem is I feel like that's just going to end up making him this slap hitter. And I don't know if I want that on my team. So we'll see.
All the similar. So you're saying, no, you're keeping Dylan Cruz
over Friedel? Probably. I hope I'm wrong because I hope Friedel's great. I hope he's like 2023.
Yeah, for sure. I think those are your guys. Like those are all like they all got drafted after Dylan Cruz, but they all have like similar skill sets, like a little different here and there. But I think what we just decided is that both of us think Cedric Mullins was a little bit underdrafted because I skipped a lot of guys before I looking for that skill set before I got to him, just as like a boring. But 15-30 there's value there.
Yeah.
In the middle round. So yeah, we're both worried about Dylan Cruz. I wouldn't be worried except strikeouts, like I said, are so great. And like you said, there's an easy opportunity. He's still just 23, I think 22.
Plenty of options left. Just send him down.
You could, yeah, 23. Sorry, just turned about a month ago. So like he could go down for a while, and then if you have him, you know what you're stuck with is am I holding him?
Exactly.
And you probably are because you took him in like round 8.
Yep.
Right. So how about this, Dylan Cruz or Jason Dominguez? Went in the similar range. Neither one has played well to start the season. Dominguez, at least the Yankees have hit so well that just no one's noticed.
Right.
He also has 3 walks and only 2 strikeouts, but he hasn't done anything with his bat. He's got 1 hit.
They don't really have a replacement for him is the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's another one like where if you just think he's not ready, he's only barely 22. Like if you just don't think he's ready, you just send him down. You play Trent Grisham or something because like Dominguez is long-term.
Yeah. And the Yankees are playing the long game. So I could see him sending him down for 6 weeks and then calling him back up too.
Yep. So which one would you rather hold, Dominguez or Cruz right now?
Dominguez, because he's on a better team.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
I think
he's also not striking out like every other plate appearance right now.
Right. Exactly.
So where Cruz is actually, that was being generous, saying he was striking out every plate appearance. Worse than that.
More than that. Yeah.
And actually Dominguez, he has struck out 3 and 11. So that's not great. It's not the worst. So.
Right.
Yeah. And Dominguez hasn't played it. Like he's only got like 11 plate appearances. Yeah. I'm sticking with Dominguez. I have him in labor, which we talked about was an out of character draft pick for me.
Yes.
And then he hasn't got off to a hot start. So I'm just like, why did you break character, Fred? Why did you do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good note to end on there. Good stuff today. Appreciate everybody chiming in the forum there. Very active chat room again. Appreciate everybody for that. And we'll have a lot more data next week. We'll have more than 5 games worth to talk about there. We'll see how many people are using the Torpedo Bat then. Big thanks to our sponsors, both at Vivid Seats and Rebet. Thank you guys for listening. Good luck in your leagues tonight. Take care.